So I left you hanging yesterday. We did all this work to come up with a better plan for government for our country. And we're not sure if it's going to pass or not. We know the Articles of Confederation stunk. They were too weak. And so we read for the last 2 days about all these compromises, about all these agreements to try to make a new plan for government. And we got to the point with these two guys and talking about Federalist and Anti-Federalist. They didn't like it. The Anti-Federalists said, no way, Jose, we don't want this new plan for government. It gives the government too much power. You're going to take away our rights. And you had the Federalists saying, oh, no, we've got a good plan. We need a strong government to protect our rights. So you've got this disagreement going on. And this disagreement leads us to today's lesson called the Bill of Rights. One of the main concerns of the Anti-Federalists was that the newly strengthened central government would step on the rights of the people. Do things like King George did, like charge too many taxes, make the soldiers live in the homes with you, take away your freedoms, tell you where you could and couldn't go. So that was the fear of the Anti-Federalists and this new strong government they created. In some states, this concern could put a stop to the ratification of the Constitution. In other words, some states might say, no, we don't want this plan for government. We don't like it. We're not going to approve your plan for government. So to ease people's fears, James Madison promised to add a Bill of Rights to the Constitution. He says, if you'll just please vote for this plan, don't say no, just please say yes. If you'll say yes, we'll add a list of all the rights that this government cannot take away. The first 10 amendments to the Constitution are called the Bill of Rights. An amendment, remember we said it was a flexible document. It can be changed. An amendment is any change that is made to the Constitution. And so this list of 10 rights that can never be taken away from citizens of the United States is called the Bill of Rights. And because each one added something to the Constitution, it changed the Constitution. So they're called amendments. An amendment is a change or an addition to a law or a document. This important document lists the rights that the government must respect. Even though the Bill of Rights wasn't written until after the Constitution was signed, Madison's promise to add these made the difference in several states. All the states, except North Carolina and Rhode Island, ratified the Constitution, and those two states finally ratified it about 2 years later. So finally, we've got a new, better plan for government for our country called simply the Constitution. So today I want to look at two things. First, let's look at these 10 rights. And I'll go ahead and tell you that over the years to 2020, where we are today, there's been 17 more. There's been a total of 27 amendments to the Constitution. Some of them have been awesome. All of them have been good, but some of them have been awesome. Like, they didn't say anything about slavery when they wrote the Constitution. Well, one of the amendments we'll learn about this year stops slavery altogether and says it's illegal. You can't have slaves in our country. Thank goodness. So thank goodness it was a flexible document and these amendments could be added. We're going to look at these. We're also going to do what I said, go back and learn a little dance to the preamble song that we've been listening to. And so let's take a look at these first. So these amendments to the Constitution, these are the rights that you have. The first one is freedom of religion is part of it, the First Amendment. You can go to church wherever you want to go to church. The government can't tell you where you can and can't go to church. You cannot go to church if you don't want to go to church. The government can't choose one religion for the country. In England, they had a national church called the Church of England. You had to go to the Church of England. The king said, you have to go to this church. If you go to any other church, you'll be arrested. It doesn't happen in our country. This right has been pretty big deal during some of the coronavirus because some states say you can't go to church because you'll spread the coronavirus. And the churches have said, no, it's my First Amendment right that you can't make any laws about my church. So that's been an issue. It's been interesting to see how it plays out. And so it's not over yet. There's still some people fighting for their freedom of religion. They want to go to church and their state government is telling them they can't. So interesting application of the First Amendment right today. Freedom of speech. Citizens can express their opinion about any subject without being arrested. but what citizens what citizens say cannot cause danger or harm to others. This has been a big deal as well. We've heard about, you've probably seen it on the news, people protesting and riots. And that's freedom of speech. People want to protest and say this wasn't right, that wasn't right. They have the right to do that in our country, freedom of speech, but they can't cause harm. So those violent protests where they would burn down buildings and things like that, they got arrested if they did that. So that's not freedom of speech, that's violence. But the First Amendment says you have freedom of speech. You can say that I disagree with what the president said. You can say that and you won't get arrested. Some countries you might get arrested if you disagreed with your government. But in the United States, you have the freedom of speech. Also, the First Amendment is the freedom of the press. The government cannot tell people what they can or cannot print in newspapers or books. So the news reporters can report it how they want to report it. Newspapers can report whatever news they want to report. They have the freedom to do that. Freedom of assembly. Citizens have the right to join and meet with any group. However, the group cannot commit crimes, kind of like the groups that we're talking about earlier, protesters. Freedom to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Wow, that sounds fancy, doesn't it? Citizens have the right to tell Congress, the president, or state leaders when they don't like something the government's doing. The government cannot punish people for doing this. So they can say, hey, we don't like this new law you've created. We want you to change it. They have the right to do that. So the First Amendment's a big deal, isn't it? And think about this. All of these things came from dealing with King George. King George said you had to go to church here. The Boston Tea Party, they said, we don't want to pay your tea tax. And they got arrested. They said we ought to have freedom of speech if we don't like something. Freedom to get together. Think about the Boston Massacre. They were joining up and arguing with the British soldiers and got shot. So a lot of these things come from what we've talked about happened with King George. Second Amendment, it's a big deal in our election this year too. You hear people talk about the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. And that's not a big furry bear with arms. It means that you can own a gun. You can own guns for hunting and other legal activities. So you have the right as a U.S. citizen, when you're 18, I guess. I'm not sure exactly how old you have to be, but you have a right to own guns for hunting and other legal activities. So you have that right. That's an issue in the election. If you listen to that, some people say, well, we don't think everybody should have guns. We don't think that should be a right, or certain kinds of guns. And so that's a lot of debate about that. I'm not going to get into that, but the Second Amendment says that you have that right. The Third Amendment says you have the right not to have soldiers in your home during peacetime. You know, remember when the king made the British soldiers live in their homes? They made the colonists let the British soldiers live in their homes and feed them. That Quartering Act, remember that? Well, I guess they were thinking about that when they made this amendment. In the past, kings made people feed and house soldiers not only during war, but during peacetime. The Fourth Amendment, freedom from improper search. Citizens have a right to control who comes into their home. If the police have a reason to think there's something illegal inside, they can get a paper. It's called a warrant that gives them the permission to search the home. But they can't just come into your home without a warrant. Fifth, Sixth, and Seventh Amendments. These includes the right to know what crimes you're being accused of. They also include the right to a speedy trial in front of a jury. So these have to deal with if you got arrested, what are your rights as a criminal? The Eighth Amendment says no cruel or unusual punishment is allowed. They can't pull your toenails off or something for robbing a store. You can't cruel that made me hurt. I shouldn't have said that. No cruel or unusual punishment. Ninth Amendment, people have other rights that are not named in the Bill of Rights. So we can't list every single right you ever have. There's other rights there. And the 10th Amendment says a great deal of power will remain with the states. So the federal government does not have all the power. Well, I guess the anti-federalists really like that one because they wanted the states to have more power. Now, let's see if we can do our little song. So I'm going to teach you the motions. Are you ready? I'm going to scoot back a little bit so you can see me better. All right. So we're going to start off like this. We the people. Can you do that? We the people of the United States. Put your hands together like this to show we're united. Of the United States. So we're going to go, we the people of the United States. And the next part of the preamble is this: in order to form. Just kind of make it your two L's like that. Just twist them back and forth like you're building something. In order to form a more perfect union together again. So let's start it from the beginning. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect, oops, I did it wrong, union. Lock your hands together to show you're united. Union. The next part says, and by the way, I'm doing this from memory, so forgive me if I mess up. Establish, put your hands out like this, like you're building something. Establish justice, like you're a scale where things can be weighed. Establish justice. So from the beginning, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, and then ensure. Put your thumb up and grab it like you're going to protect it. Ensure domestic tranquility, like you're going to take a nap. And domestic tranquility means peace in our country. So ensure domestic tranquility. From the beginning, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility. I didn't talk about establish justice. That means to make sure everybody's treated fairly in our country. Okay, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide, like you're giving somebody something, provide for the common defense, like you're ready to fight for your freedom. Provide for the common defense. All right, so from the beginning that far, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense. The next part says promote, like you're going to salute somebody, promote the general welfare. Just salute. Promote the general welfare. So from the beginning, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare. And the general welfare is just to make sure our citizens are healthy and happy. And then the last part says, and to secure, like you're grabbing it, not letting anybody take it out of your hand, to secure the blessings of liberty, like you're the Statue of Liberty, holding up that flame. Secure the blessings of liberty. Let's go that far. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty, to make sure everybody's free for all time. Is that what it means? For ourselves and our posterity. Your posterity is you, your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, everybody in your family that lives after you. So that phrase, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterities, to make sure that everybody, whoever lives in the United States as part of our family, enjoys the same freedoms that we have. So secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. And the next part says, do ordain, like you're laying your hands on somebody's shoulders. Do ordain and establish. Okay, just like you're a house or something. Ordain and establish this Constitution, like you're unrolling it like a scroll, this Constitution for the United States of America, and pretend like you're a bald eagle flying away. Can you do that from the beginning? Let's try it one time, and then we'll try it with the music. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. How'd you do? Did you okay with that? I tell you what, I'm going to give you an extra credit challenge. Now, if you were in my class in person, you would have to do this. But every year I have my students memorize the preamble, and they can sing it, they can say it, they can dance it. But if you would like to get 100 extra credit points for social studies in one of our meets, you've got to say that from memory. You think you can do it? Well, let's practice it with a song real quick. You'll see me and you'll see our song here. And and by the way, in this song that you've been listening to, if you notice, it doesn't say "We the people of the United States." It just says "We the people." So we'll leave off the part of the United States. They forgot the whole part of the preamble in this song. So let's take a listen to it. Get ready to do your movements.
Hey, learn about the USA. In 1787, I'm told our founding fathers did agree to write a list of principles for keeping people free. The USA was just starting out a whole brand new country. And so our people spelled it out, the things that we should be. And they put those principles down on paper and called it the Constitution. And it's been helping us run our country ever since then. The first part of the Constitution is called the preamble. And
get ready. Here we go.
Set out to do. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty. To ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. In 1787, I'm told our founding fathers all sat down and wrote a list of principles that's known the world around. The USA was just starting out a whole brand new country. And so our people spelled it out. They wanted a land of liberty. And the preamble goes like this. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty. To ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. For the United States of America.
Oh boy, I feel silly flying like a bird. You can laugh at me if you want to. Wow, we've learned a whole lot this week. We've learned so much, from the Articles of Confederation to Shays' Rebellion to the issue of having to change the Articles and come up with a Constitution, all the compromises it took, the parts of the Constitution, like the 3 branches. We've learned so much. And so I want to end the week by watching a Liberty's Kid video called We the People. And really, this video does an excellent job of going over everything that we've talked about, including the issue of slavery. So for the next little bit, I want you to watch this Liberty Kid video, and I want you just to think about all the things we've learned, all the compromises, the secret meeting, all of these things we've talked about what made our government the government it is today. I think you'll enjoy it. And thank you for listening and learning so much this week. We'll learn even more about these things next week. Now go watch Liberty's Kid on the next slide now.